Hey everyone, my name is Parker Vernon. I'm a real estate broker here in the Central Oregon area. If you are a property owner that has rentals in the state of Oregon, this is a video that you're going to want to pay attention to. The 2026 rent cap rules have changed, and there are a few things that I think that you should know about. So let's jump into it. Oregon's 2026 rent cap rules have changed, and here are a few things that you need to know so that you can maximize your profit on your rentals and go about operating things legally and correctly, because some of these mistakes can result in huge financial problems. First, let's get into the basics, and this is regarding any property that's over 15 years old. The state limits rent increases to 7% plus CPIW or 10%, whichever of those two numbers is lower. And you can only raise your rent once every 12 months. In 2025, that rent increase limit was set at 10%. For 2026, the exact amount that we can raise rent hasn't been published yet, but we can kind of bank on things being around that 10% number, potentially a touch less. But one thing that you should know, if your property is less than 15 years old, you are exempt from those rent increases. So if you have older properties, it might be a good time to check out your portfolio and turning that equity into newer properties. One thing that you can't forget though is notice laws are in place. So you do have to give a 90-day written notice, no matter how old your property is, for that rent increase to take effect. Here's 4 things that you need to pay attention to make sure that you are in compliance with rent increases. Number 1, this is issuing more than one rent increase in a 12-month period. This is flat out illegal, and if you do this, that second rent increase that you issued within that calendar year is null and void. Problem number 2, people do not issue a written 90-day notice. If you have a rental and you're trying to increase the rent, you have to put that out 90 calendar days prior to it taking effect. If you issue a notice in July that's supposed to take effect in August, that is an invalid notice and that rent increase cannot be taken into effect. Number 3, people apply the wrong rent cap to their property. If it's an older home and you go over that mandated 10%, you could actually be in risk of a major lawsuit. And vice versa, if you have a newer home, you could be leaving money on the table and you're not keeping up with market rates. And finally, number 4, if you push past that imposed rent cap, you can owe your tenant up to 3 months rent as well as damages. So make sure you are in compliance with where that stated rent cap can be for the singular calendar year. If you avoid those 4 mistakes, you're already doing better than about half the market. So let's turn that law into a strategy. Here's how you prep for January as of 2026 to make sure that you're properly in compliance and not leaving cash on the table. Step number 1, you have to go through and audit your portfolio. Understanding the age of your homes makes a huge difference when you're coming up with your game plan for 2026. If you have older properties, you're going to have that hard rent cap of around 10%. But if you have newer homes, you can push that past and actually get back to market at a much quicker pace. This could actually be a really good time to look at your equity positions and see if leveraging your older properties into newer homes is the right choice for you. Step number 2, audit when you last increased your rent. If you did that in April of 2025, you cannot issue another rent increase until April of 2026. Step number 3, plan your rent increases backwards. Take note of when you last issued a rent increase. Then track 90 days prior to that. If you have a rental that is due for a rent increase as of January 1st, you have to make sure that goes out prior to October 1st. Step number 4, communicate value. In Central Oregon, we operate on quality. So if you are issuing a rent increase of substantial size, it's good to show other comparable properties that are renting of a certain level, as well as do something for the tenant that could be tangible, whether that's changing out their furnace filters, maybe sprucing up the yard a little bit, or doing some sort of value add to make sure their rent increase goes along with something tangible. Step 5 is document everything. This includes notice letters, inspection reports, proof of delivery. If a tenant ever challenges that you are doing something incorrectly, you will have a paper trail. You always have to make sure that you cover your butt in every situation. Now let's walk through a realistic example. You own a home that was built in 2005 here in Bend, and it's currently renting for $2,300 a month. That home is older than 15 years, so that hard rent cap applies to you. Let's say you haven't raised rent since 2024, and you're looking to do the maximum rent increase. In this case, you'd be looking at a 10% rent increase because you would have the 7% base as well as the CPIW, which we're going to assume is around 3%. Combining those factors, that increases rent by $230 up to $25.30 per month. When you issue that notice, pair it with a note that says, "We see you've been keeping the property in good condition, and we're scheduling a carpet clean and HVAC check to make sure that everything is in good working order in the household." In this case, you stay legal, you stay profitable, and your tenant stays put because they're seeing a value add as well as quality communication. So as of right now, that is your 2026 rent cap roadmap for here in the state of Oregon as well as Central Oregon. Remember, audit your portfolio, take note of when you last increased rents, and make sure you're keeping compliant. If you're interested in keeping up with what's going on with the legalities of property management here in the state of Oregon, hit the subscribe button. If you're interested in getting an equity audit for your portfolio, hit the link below, and I would love to get in contact with you so that we can go through your portfolio together and see if we're making the best decisions with the equity that's out there and not just letting it sit in the home. At the end of the day, this is a business and we want to make sure that you are maximizing your profitability per month. Thanks for watching, and again, subscribe so that you can keep up with all the legalities. We'll be going over legal landmines next and things that are costing landlords thousands of dollars. As always, I'm Parker. I'm selling Central Oregon. Have a blessed day.